Hi everyone, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, and I'm here to break down the astrology. We're going to have a very intense fall and a lot to examine. So we just had the new moon in Virgo yesterday at 9:55 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 11 degrees and 4 minutes of the mutable earth sign of Virgo. If you haven't set intentions yet, you can still write down what you want to manifest and what you're trying to build and grow in your life. Pardon me, a new moon is always a time to plant new seeds. But this new moon, much like the astrology in August, we had a lot of planets transiting both in Virgo and in Gemini at that time. They built up to form a mutable T-square, which means mutable signs have a lot of options. They can go in many different directions, but they can also go in many different directions. So sometimes what you thought was happening could shape into something different. Sometimes that's a good thing because it does give options. But we also were under Mercury retrograde. Mercury stationed direct on August 28th, and that was the day that Venus was still in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. Venus opposed Neptune, and then later that day, Mercury stationed direct. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of lies, a lot of things are being brought out to the surface, being uncovered. And Venus is love and beauty, but opposite Neptune, maybe some deception around money or relationships or communication could surface. And then now we had the new moon occur. And this new moon, oh, the other thing too, last week, and I have to keep my dates right, but on the 19th, we had the first of three squares. We had the opening square of Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance, square Saturn, which is opposite in energy. It's the planet of constriction and restriction and limitations and responsibility. Jupiter is expanding in Gemini, where it's not the greatest sign to be, but Jupiter will expand wherever it is. And Saturn doesn't love being in Pisces either, because Saturn's trying to structure something very, very structured, and Pisces is very unstructured. It rules the ocean. So they had the first of three squares, and that was at 17 degrees of Gemini and Pisces respectively. And they will clash again in the sky on December 24th at 14 degrees of Gemini and Pisces. And then they will square one another a third time on June 15th of next year. At that time, Jupiter will be in Cancer and Saturn will be in Aries. They'll be at the first degree, they'll be at the second degree, 1 degree of Cancer and Aries respectively, close to the world point. So what that means is that we're trying to expand and bring in good fortune in Gemini ways right now through communicating, through local environment, immediate environment, marketing, sales, learning, communication. And Saturn in Pisces is trying to structure a dream. Many people have given up on dreams or they think they're impossible right now, but that's not true. It just seems out of reach. And in a sense, this past retrograde was very useful because there was a lot of Virgo emphasis. Mercury retrograded in two signs, initially in the sign of Virgo. It retrograded on August 4th at 4 degrees of Virgo, and then it returned to the sign of Leo on August 14th. It will now return back to the sign of Virgo, which is in its dignity, a sign it rules, on September 9th, and it will remain in Virgo through September 26th. And this means this is great for getting things organized, and that's why I'm in the other room right now, and trying to declutter things, declutter your mind, declutter your environment, focusing on your health. Luckily now the weather's better. I'm going to start taking a lot of walks. This is a great thing for clearing the mind. Mercury rules the mind. So for me, walking is a very comprehensive experience. I walk fast, so it's physical, but I also get a lot of ideas for my articles, and more than just that, I get to clear my head and look at beauty and nature and trees. So it's really a lovely thing. So now we've got Mercury returning to Virgo soon. It's going to return on September 9th. It'll be there through the 26th. That's a great deal. That'll have Mercury in its dignity. Now, Venus is a big player this month too, because Venus entered the sign of Libra on August 29th, the day after Mercury stationed direct, and it got to the world point, because anything at 0 degrees of the cardinal signs is at the world axis: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And anytime a planet enters an air sign, the very first degree, right now, because Pluto is now back in Capricorn, but at that time it wasn't, it will form a good angle to Pluto and Aquarius. And at that point it did. On the 29th, Venus formed a lovely trine to Pluto. That can up-level romance, that can up-level value, that can make you feel happier. And it's interesting because that was the day after Venus opposed Neptune, where somebody else's deception could become apparent. Or maybe you see somebody the way they really are, or maybe they saw you the way you really are. Now we have something up-leveling your ability to find value, to create, to love. Venus loves being in Libra. It's in its dignity. So now we have Venus in Libra, and it will be there, I believe, through September 22nd. Yes, I know it will be. And then we're going to have Mercury in its dignity from September 9th through September 26th. But lo and behold, yesterday's new moon, although it is a time to plant new seeds, and it was a challenging one because it opposed Saturn, planet of restriction, saying, yeah, this is a good idea, but have you paid attention to this? Is this practical? Is this not? Are you going to get this going? Are they off on a cruise in Pisces land? And squaring Jupiter, well, do you have too much going on to make it happen? Too many people doing too many things? Are you scattered? But again, plant new seeds, right? And then that's not a reason I mention it, it officially marked the beginning of eclipse season. Although in my estimation and from my experience over the years, we feel eclipse energy a month before and about a month after. Depending if it really hits you strongly, you could feel it. Definitely, I've had people have very dramatic events a month before an eclipse if it hit them, or a few weeks. And definitely, sometimes it's not right on the day of an eclipse. It could be a few weeks after, it could be a month after. But 2 weeks before, we had a lunation. We had a new moon on September 2nd. That marked the beginning of eclipse season. We have a partial lunar eclipse on September 17th at 25 degrees and 41 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. And then we're going to have a new moon eclipse on October 2nd at 10 degrees and 4 minutes of the cardinal air sign of Libra. And we're still in the Aries Libra eclipses, but as of January 11th of next year, the nodes of fate will change signs, and they will segue from Aries Libra to Pisces Virgo. And they will be there through, I believe, July 26th of 26, I believe. But let's just pay attention to the fact that the nodes of fate will be changing signs. And what that also means, as of January 11th of next year, the north node of karma for a little bit will be at the fixed star Shiad, where Neptune currently is, which is a big focus of mine, because that deals with self-undoing, that deals with depression, that deals with addiction, that feels lost at sea. But I also know people that have it, that embody, because every planet and every sign has a higher and a lower form. Not everyone, well, not everyone with planets or even transits. Right now, I'm getting a transit from Shiat, and I do feel very depressed. It's squaring my Sag ascendant, which is pretty lighthearted. But I'm trying to learn more about it, and I plan on doing more research on Shiat. And I knew two individuals. I've mentioned them quite a few times in my videos. I think I can say their names without outing them, Grace and Jim. They are born different years and have different journeys, but they both are very, very lovely people. They were both born on March 20th, and they both have their sun at the very final degree of the zodiac. Boy, are they wise and are they kind, and they embody all the higher level of Pisces, the compassion, the artistry. They're both incredible artists. They're also both astrologers, tarot, you name it, they do it all, and they're really loving, and they've been very special to me. And I met them I met one of them before Saturn entered Pisces, and I connected more with the other during this. But regardless, I've met them the last couple of years, and I'm so grateful to both of them. They have been a shining light. So let's bear that in mind as we all navigate Shiat, which is the last degree of Pisces, because we will be dealing with Neptune at this degree on and off through February 15th of 2026. And I will say, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I heard of 3 suicides from Mother's Day, because Neptune got to this point on May 4th, between Mother's Day and I believe early July, end of June or early July. And that's a lot. Not people I knew directly, but every person that told me I know pretty well. So that's not a great thing, obviously. It's a terrible thing. What am I saying? So it's something we very much need to be mindful of. And people also feeling lost at sea, feeling depressed, feeling like they don't want to go out. And then we have another thing to factor in. Mars, the planet of war, how we get things going, the planet of passion and drive and lust and sexuality. Well, Mars has been transiting in Leo, and now it's going to enter the sign of Gemini. What am I saying? I'm like, why is it entering Leo? It was transiting in Gemini, where it is very fun, actually. It's good for Jupiter, may be in its detriment in Gemini, and they did meet up and were part of that big T-square of going in many different directions in August. But Mars in Gemini is taking action to network, to meet new people, to take classes, to take local trips, to get involved in local businesses, workshops, etc. Now Mars enters the sign of Cancer, where it's technically in its fall position because it rules the opposite sign of Capricorn. It's going to be there on and off through April 18th of next year. You heard it right here. So it's going to enter tomorrow. Now, it officially entered its shadow on, let's see here, on July 17th. Because it got to, is that right? Oh, no, that's not right. That's another shadow. That was Mercury. It enters Cancer on September 4th, where it's going to transit on and off through April 18th. It's going to enter Leo on November 3rd, but it's going to get to its shadow on October 7th, meaning that when it stations direct, which it will on February 23rd, it's going to be at 17 degrees of Cancer. So it initially retrogrades on November 3rd at 6 degrees and 1 minute of Leo, and then it's going to re-enter Cancer. And in Leo, it's fun, it's passionate, but it's going to be retrograde. And unfortunately, we're going to be completing the year with Mars retrograde. I'm more concerned about initiating a new year with Mars retrograde. Not an ideal time to launch a new business, to launch a new, plan, all sorts of things people launch, because often people do in the very beginning of the year. We can't totally avoid it, obviously, but Mars, unlike Mercury, Mercury retrogrades frequently. That we can tweak and we work with, and it happens basically 4 times a year. But Mars is only once every 2 years. And so as much as you can get things prepared now, if you know there's something big you are launching in the beginning of 25, well, get it going now. It will enter its shadow in the beginning of October, but still, it's still direct. And my feeling is that that's going to be something that's going to be a bit frustrating in light of all of this. And, that's something also. The thing I have not mentioned, but that's something for you guys to keep in mind, because right now we've got Venus in its dignity in Libra. It forms a beautiful trine to Jupiter on September 14th. That is very good energy to work with, to manifest, good for love and money and beauty and working well with others and relationships. And Venus loves being in Libra. And then we have Mercury entering its dignity on September 9th to the 26th. That's a big deal too. But Venus also will square Pluto on the day of the equinox on September 22nd. That's its final aspect before it enters the sign of Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. Venus doesn't love being in Scorpio. It loves being in Libra. So there is a letting go very much in all of this, okay, in this energy. Even though Venus is making some great aspects, I want you to maximize, definitely on the 14th, and in general, Venus in Libra is very social, but recognizing that Pluto just returned to the sign of Capricorn on September 1st. It will be here through November 19th. That deals with governments, that deals with people in leadership, it deals with corporations, it deals with karma. And with Mars in Cancer, that's also dealing with old memories and Mars feeling angry, maybe really distant memories from when you were really young, or you didn't feel nurtured or secure, or you had your feelings hurt. And then you've got Venus where it loves to be, but it's going to clash with Pluto on the equinox. And I'll talk more about that when we get towards there, because we also have the equinox is between the eclipses, and the second eclipse being in Libra. And it is Libra, the equinox in the northern hemisphere marks the vernal one, marks the beginning of the Libra season. So finding balance where many of us feel lost at sea, where, we've got eclipses going on, and we just had Uranus, the great awakener and shocker of the universe, station retrograde also on September 1st, the same day Pluto returned to Capricorn. And Uranus, we feel that 5 days before and 5 days after. That can bring big news, that can bring big breakups, could bring big beginnings out of the blue. It can be very combustible energy. There can be accidents or earthquakes, or just, metaphorically a lot of blow-ups, but it also can be like, whoa, and that also can bring the truth to the forefront. And I think that, coupled with now, again, I want you to use this month to try to partner with others, to try to get things going. Not all easy. Mars in Cancer may not be as likely as Mars in Gemini, which might want to connect more. But still, you've got Mercury there being really chatty as of the 9th. You've got Venus in Libra being very gregarious and social. And, with the eclipses, if there's something you want to address with somebody, this lunar eclipse in Pisces, very vulnerable energy. There was a lunar eclipse on September 16th of 16, that was at 24 degrees of Pisces. I was surprised it was that close, but that was a lunar eclipse. And on March 20th of 2015, there was a total solar eclipse at Shiat. I missed that one. I don't know what was going on with me then, but that's a big deal. And those of you that have Shiat in your chart at 28, 29 degrees of Pisces probably felt that strongly. Those of you born that day definitely felt it. We need to get through a very intense fall. A lot of karma, a lot of unfinished business. It could feel like we're returning to the past, both with Mars in Cancer and with Pluto returning to Capricorn, which is outdated systems, old structures, old ways of doing things, what's right, what's wrong, following authority. And, in many ways, even things we're dealing with on a societal and personal level, it could feel like that. However, remember that Pluto leaves Capricorn on November 19th, and it will not return in our lifetime. It takes 248 years to orbit, and then it's going to enter Aquarius, and it's going to be there the next 20 years. And that really, Aquarius is a very futuristic sign, just as even its symbolism. It's about groups and youth movement and technology, although I do feel a lot more emphasis with psychology on the damaging impact that the internet and social media and phones have on our psyche and on our emotional well-being, because we know it ain't good. I don't think I need to tell you that. So there will be a lot more studies on that and ways to try to handle that more, because it's going to accelerate. That's inevitable. But this fall will be heavy. There will be a lot of karmic commitments maybe we're letting go of, both with the Pluto and Capricorn story, because Capricorn does deal with karma and with the old, and even Mars in Cancer, bringing up a lot of heavy stuff to process, releasing that anger in order to move ahead. And so a lot to work with. Know, again, we're beginning 25 with Mars retrograde. Not the best way to begin a new year. Get as much going as you can now before the beginning of December. In some cases, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. But try as you can. I wish you a lot of luck. And work with Venus and Libra. Try to socialize a little bit, or you don't have to, if you don't feel it, do it any way you can. Find beauty and value and connect with people. It can be remotely too. And remember, on the 14th there's a beautiful aspect, Venus trine Jupiter. I'm a little ahead of myself, but there will be more to come, and I will talk to you soon.